Yeah, a little taste of today's guest there. What's up, amigos? Welcome to the Don't Stifle Me podcast. If you're new, my name is Jacob Stiefel. I'm a musician, a singer, songwriter. I'm also a podcast host. And here on this podcast, I'm lucky enough to get to sit down and talk with guests from all aspects of music and performing arts. And we discuss people chasing something that they're passionate about and how it may not always go the way you think it's going to go, but if you're doing it for the right reasons, it always leads somewhere good. And I do believe that. And this episode was an absolute pleasure. But before we get to it, I do want to say that this podcast for now is listener funded, which means that it is supported by you beautiful people out there listening. If you're enjoying the episodes, please jump over to patreon.com/DSM podcast. Patreon is a website set up so that people can pledge small amounts of money per month, and then in return for that, you can get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes perks like pictures and video from the conversations that I have, along with also MP3 downloads of the songs that I record with some of the guests, and much more. There's a lot of different perks and packages over there on the page, and the monthly pledges for that start as low as $1 a month. So once again, if you want to check that out, that is patreon.com/DSM podcast. And all right, on today's episode, I have the legendary Cowboy Eddie Long. Now, Cowboy played steel guitar for Hank Williams Jr. from 1980 to 1995, and he's been Jamey Johnson's steel guitar player since 2005. And he has stories for days, and we got to a lot of them. I caught up with Cowboy backstage at a venue here in Nashville after sound check before he played a show there that night. And anyway, I'll just let you listen to it yourself. Here it is, my talk with Cowboy Eddie Long.
Pick it up again.
Well, where did the name Cowboy come from? We'll just start there.
Well, I got that when I was in high school because back then everybody was loving rock and roll. You know, there wasn't that many country music fans. And I started playing steel at 15. And I was in band. I was first chair trumpet. But something about a steel guitar. Back then I was playing gospel music. Playing bass on the road. And I got in this one band. They had the greatest steel player I ever heard. He was one of my mentors. His name was Garland Nash out of Atlanta. And so people found out I liked country music, so they kind of just nicknamed me Cowboy.
Wow, they just stuck.
I never was much of a horse guy or nothing, you know, but it just stuck. I mean,
where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I was born in Rome, Georgia.
Okay.
And my dad was a Church of God preacher. And so we kind of moved all over Georgia, but finally settled down when I was about 12 in Fairburn, Georgia. Actually, Union City, right outside of Fairburn. And that's where I finished high school and
started playing in bands around in high school. Is that when you started?
I actually had 2 scholarships for music to go to the University of Georgia. And I told my dad, I said, I'm going to go to Nashville. I'm going to give it a try for 5 years. If I'm not with a top name act by 1980, I'll go ahead and do the scholarships, because I didn't want to be a band teacher, you know. And as luck would have it, 1 month shy of the 5 years, on April Fool's Day, a man named Hank Williams Jr. hired me to play when I was 22.
Wow.
Actually, I was still 21 at the time. And
man.
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
Well, I was playing. My first year in Nashville, there were so many steel players here, and I was
at that time, I bet.
Oh yeah, Julian Tharp, buddy, there was just Lloyd Green, just everybody wearing it out.
Yeah,
and every bar you walked into had an incredible steel player in it. So the competition was really fierce, and so I toured with a girl named Lois Johnson. I moved up here in November of '75.
Yeah,
and toured with her a couple of years, but it wasn't enough to really make a living on, So what I did, I got me a sit-down job in Birmingham, Alabama, at this huge club, 6 nights a week, 5 hours a night, good money, and
playing like in a house band or something.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
I got you.
And that's where I really honed my chops in. Too,
okay,
playing top 40 hits every day when it was real country.
Yeah,
and we had a guy named Animal who was Hank's. His best friend was Hank's drummer. Well, they needed a guitar player, so they pulled Animal in.
Yeah.
And about 6 months down the road, Hank wanted to hire Steele, and he said, "I got the guy." Because we had played there 3 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
So we were like really, really thick. So I went and I wanted to be a pro golfer. Yeah, because I was starting to break into the 60s.
Wow.
And
you still play?
Yeah, I just picked it back up.
Awesome.
He devastated that career in one night.
So he hired you like right before your deadline of if you didn't have
about a
major-
month shy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he sure did. It was lucky to have it turned out. I don't know if that's the best thing or worst thing.
I'm sure it had its ups and downs. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Right. Yeah. So how long were you with him? That was around 1980?
Yeah, I was with him till January 1995, 15 years.
15 years.
I think 23 albums.
Ah, man.
I was on the first gold album until I was 22.
Wow. So did you do all the recording too? Did you record the albums? Okay.
Yeah.
Man. 80s.
And then I got to be his best friend and running buddy, and he about killed me.
Hank, yeah. Man, that's just that was the wild.
Yeah,
he had his whole life has been crazy, but I mean that was like the peak.
Of, 87, 88.
When he had like 9 albums in the charts at the same time at one point or something. Yeah.
We got the Entertainer of the Year 5 times in a row.
Something like yeah.
We got the first video award too when they first video. All my writing friends are coming over tonight.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Oh, that was a great video.
Oh yeah, that was a lot.
That just looked like so much fun.
Oh man, with Cheech and Chong and Jim Varney and
just the whole cast and crew of that. Yeah, that were in that video.
It was a 3-day long party, is what it was.
Is that it? Just was a party and they just videoed it. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we just a music track and they just videoed us having fun.
Were you not tired of hearing that damn song by the end of that party?
No, we were too drunk.
Oh man! So did the as far as the drinking and stuff? I guess that was probably going on a little bit before Hank, and that just kind of just escalated.
Oh yeah,
After that,
it really, really did because I did the first tour I did with Hank. The third night, Hank come up and I got the job on doing the fiddle solo on Kalijah.
Oh, okay.
He gave it to me instead of we didn't have a fiddle. He played fiddle, but he said, "You play it." So I played it, and he snickered and laughed. He said, "Play it again." And then I played it again, and I gave it all I had. And he said, "You play it one more time." Nice. I did. He said, "You're hired. Don't forget to bring me beer every night before the show, too." So we'd have our little meetings, for the show. We called them cold hot dogs. But at the end of that show, everybody was congratulating me on being hired and doing a great job.
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, you've got one last test." And one last test, they said, "Yep." And they handed me a 5th of Jack Daniels. They said, "Kill it." And I did. And buddy, I've not even been able to smell Jack Daniels since then.
Wow, yeah.
I killed that thing. I was sick 3 days. It was.
I bet.
Man.
I'm sick just kind of thinking about it.
But, of course, we've been sober 11 years now. I finally got delivered of that. I got real back. I drank 3 cases a day for about 30 years.
Man.
Because that's the way we lived. I mean, back then, you just drank, and drank and drank and drank and drank. And
did you have to leave Hank's tour because of that? Or
No, I left Hank because he just wasn't working enough.
Yeah.
The last few years, he was making more money per shows. We were too, but he wasn't working enough. And we had 3 different record deals with the Bama band. Yeah. And we would book shows, but somehow they would book it up like a show on top of something we already had booked. Yeah. So we were just literally starving.
Man, yeah.
But he was always extremely good to me. I became his fishing buddy, his hunting buddy, and moved in with him a couple of months. Yeah. He never treated me wrong. It's just, dadgum, I just wish we could have made a little bit better money back then. But
you gotta make money. You gotta buy groceries and pay the rent.
Yeah. But I don't hold anything against him, because like I said, he's still to this day. We're great friends.
So you stayed close with him?
Oh yeah.
After that and everything. Well, that's great. That's good. I've met a fair amount of people, but I've never got to meet him. I feel like there's few people I'm usually pretty good about meeting and not getting like starstruck or whatever, but I feel like Hank and maybe Willie and Christopherson, like people at that level, I feel like I still might just like not know what to say.
Oh yeah, because I mean, you just think about how much they've been around and what they've seen.
Yeah,
they're like a general that fought in 3 different wars or something.
It's like I'm really good friends with Sam Phillips' son, Jerry Phillips, that lives down, or they have the studio over in Memphis. Yeah. And Jerry's daughter, Hallie, they're both really good friends of mine. And we're so close, we're like family, so I don't think about it a lot, but every once in a while I stop and think, like, Jerry firsthand knew Elvis Presley. Yeah. And just like the people and his dad, the effect that had, I feel like it would be in the same level. Like, those people, just the stuff that they've been through or whatever. I text you, I forgot when it was, but I mentioned there was a live show y'all did, and it was on the radio. It was like the Silver Eagle radio, whatever. I worked with a guy one time that was a huge Hank fan, and we would both talk about stuff and powwow and swap stories and songs and stuff. And he had, it was one of the first guys I knew that had the equipment where you could transfer from a vinyl album to a computer.
Right.
And so he had this old, radio copy of the radio show that he put it on a CD. And man, I listened to that. I bet I broke the CD. I listened to it so many times. It was just.
Speaking of that, there's something really funny. There's a story to that because we did several of those. Yeah. And on one of them, Hank plays a 6-string lap steel too, kind of like a George Thorogood type thing. Yeah. And he's not really accomplished on that. And I'm thinking, while he's playing that, those people think that's me.
Yeah, it needs to be like some kind of disclaimer or something. Like you stick your head in the microphone and be like, by the way, everybody, this is not Cowboy playing this part.
Yeah. We even one time, he had this thing where on Born to Boogie, he'd go around and play all the instruments. Yeah. And he got to my part, and he sat down, and he played, in the middle, he played steel guitar rag. And he was about probably, I'd say, 1/4 to 5/8 of an inch off. Really out of tune. Wow. Well, we taped every night. He called us to the bus the next day just before sound check, called everybody in the back room, and had his solo queued up on it. He said, everybody, I want you to listen to this. And I'm telling you, this is what's wrong with country music nowadays. And he played that song and laughed. Wow. He never played that again.
That was the last time.
That was it.
Yeah, I remember hearing stories about how he would like pick certain songs and like he would go around and play like every instrument on stage or whatever. Yeah. I had a cousin that went to see y'all one time. It was in this era. It was in the like late 80s or early 90s or sometime in there. And he said he went to the show and he was all excited, huge Hank Jr. fan, and said Hank came out there and played If You Don't Like Hank Williams and Kiss My Ass. And then he said the song finished and he said, man, it's a damn good song. We're going to play it again. Played it again, finished it. He said, man, that's a good song. We're going to play it one more time. And he said Hank played that song like 12 or 14 times.
Good.
And then walked off stage and left. That was the show. I feel like he might have called somebody and asked for his money back or something.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we had a lot of those. But, I would say 80% of the time he was on it. Yeah. And it's those shows that maybe he wasn't quite on it or didn't like the venue. What would really, when I first started with him, there were still people coming out to hear him do his dad's music. Yeah. And I remember, oh, Lord, it was like early, the first month or so, we played at a high school stadium on the football field in those little bleachers. Yeah. And there's probably 200 people there, and the youngest one there about 80. Yeah. And we brought him on. The hit at the time was Kalijah, and we did the vamp, brought him on. Hank Williams, and he got up on stage. He just says, stop. And he goes into doing slow Johnny Cash songs. Like, oh, Paladin. Through the whole show. And one at a time, these people are walking off. And everybody left except for this one old man. He got almost to the top of the stairs on a walker and came back down and found his wallet and turned around and tipped him.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I had some like Hank Jr. playing cards, and they had on the one side they had different pictures of Hank from over the years, and I remember there were a few of them that I remember looking at them, and it was Hank sitting in it looked like just a bar playing a gig like I'd be playing or something, you know. It wasn't like arena or stadium Hank. It was just him probably in the late 70s, you know, playing in some smoky bar, sitting on a stool playing acoustic. And that kind of made me think, well, if Hank played these little shitty gigs, I guess it's okay that I play little shitty gigs sometimes.
yeah. Man, some of them early day shows, you couldn't believe some of the places we played. I remember one of them, there was roaches crawling on me.
Wow. So, okay, you started in around 80, so you were not on, I'm sorry, my favorite Hank album was The New South. I think that was
the first album I played on was Rowdy.
Okay. Oh no, that's close to the top of the list.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I think Texas Women.
And Dixie on My Mind. That was on that one.
I played on just one song on that album. That was Footlights.
Oh yeah.
And then the next one was when it all started exploding. It was the Pressure Is On album,
right?
Which had Country Boy Can't Survive.
Yeah. Was that the one with the? Where he was on the airplane, where he's like walking on the runway or something?
No, this is before that.
Okay.
I was
trying to remember what the album
right
looked
before
like.
that.
Okay.
I believe this was 81. That's when...
this is the one with the train... With the train tracks.
With All My Rowdy Friends
and
settled down. Yeah, that was the first number one I ever played on.
Yeah, when I... growing up, my dad had like maybe 1,000 records or something like that, and he'd had them separated, the rock and roll on one side and the country on one side. And I remember when I got old enough to reach the records, he showed me like how to get the record out and put it on and put the needle in the whole process. And, you know, he made sure to tell me that when you get done with one, you put it back and where it goes before you get the next one out. But for a while there, I just got the rock and roll. I was just, you know, I'd get Ted Nugent, AC/DC, you know, Bob Seger, all Skinner, and all those down. And then at some point, around 8th or 9th or 10th grade, I discovered the countryside, and I was like, "Oh, let's see these Hank Jr. ones." He had like 15 Hank Jr. albums. I was just went to town on them. So I've listened to you play for a long time.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sorry.
No, it's good stuff.
Thank you.
What would you think is the coolest thing that you did when you were with Hank? The coolest show or anything? The top memories that you can recall.
I guess the one that stands out the most, we did a 9-week tour with Whelan in 81. And it's not so cool now, but the Hells Angels were our booking agent. And
booking agent?
Yeah. And, of course, did our security. And I remember about a week into the tour, the president of the Hells Angels, his name was Deacon at the time.
Yeah.
And we got really be good friends, you know. And just something about it. I'd given him this buffalo belt buckle that spun, and he was in. I didn't know it, but he was really had this thing about buffaloes. They were sacred and everything, and he loved that. And he just took me right up under his wing. Well, about a week into the tour, we were getting ready to sound check. And of course, I'd already had about 12, 15 beers. You know, I mean, that's normal.
Yeah.
And he come up to me. He said, "Cowboy, I mean, I've really gotten to like you a lot." He said, and he's staring down. He's probably 6 feet taller than me, you know. He looked at me. He put his hand on my shoulder. He said, "But son, you're gonna have to slow it down." Now, when the president of the Hells Angels tells you to slow down,
man, you're doing something. That's for sure. Yeah.
But we lived through all that.
Yeah, you're still here with us. So what'd you do after Hank?
Well, after Hank, when it started slowing down, Kenny Chesney was just breaking in.
Yeah.
And so he asked me if I would play on his album, and which was his first one. Had Don't That Make You Want to Fall in Love, the one that really broke him in.
Yeah.
And we wasn't touring at the time, and so he asked me to go on tour with him, so I did. And the next year, when it came back to go with Hank, I toured with him. It was a Skinner and Hank tour for about a month, and I saw what was going to happen again. You know, it's going to be a slow. So, and Kenny offered me a job touring with him, and he was booked solid. Yeah. And so I went with Kenny and stayed with him about 2 years, did his first 3 albums. And then at the time, I started doing a lot of recording. I mean, I did all the Confederate Railroad albums.
Oh, cool.
I was working under Barry Beckett. He always called me his secret weapon. So got to doing, 3 and 4 sessions a day sometimes. The sessions were really picking up till 97. Then they had what we called the Nashville Bloodbath. And that's when all the labels merged.
Huh.
It was a weird thing. And they fired a bunch of artists. Well, there for from going from 2 or 3 to 4 sessions a day sometimes, I went to like 1 every 2 weeks because nobody was recording. And
it was 97?
Yeah. And unfortunately for me, I had pretty much drank up all my money. And so there was just no work. And so I actually moved to Memphis. A buddy of mine lived there, played on weekends.
Yeah.
And went to work full-time building kitchen cabinets. Of all jobs for a musician to have, because you're running about 20 different kinds of saw.
Yeah.
And a guy named Wade Battle, I did that for about 5 years. And I was still playing on weekends.
Yeah. And
I'd come to Nashville and record and stuff. But a guy named Wade Battle walked in the cabinet shop one day that I was doing weekends with. And he, can you take a break? I said, sure. So we walked outside.
Is he the guy you were playing with over there? Wade?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Wade.
And he said, you're not going back in there. I said, well, I got to, man. He said, no, I'll keep you working enough where you're not, you're never, I mean, he was just terrified when he saw me
all the
running.
saws,
Yeah. So, but anyway, it wasn't long after that. Wade moved to Nashville, and him and Jamey had hooked up.
Yeah.
And they called me, wanted to know if I could Jamey had just gotten his first record deal, wanted to know if I could do a show with him down at the stage.
Yeah.
And I went down there and did it, and his first song was Whiskey Went and Hellbound, and asked me if I knew it. And I said, yeah.
Played it a couple times.
So I kicked it off, and right when the da-da-da-da-da-da, he got to the mic, he said, I'm not going to say what he said.
Yeah. You can say anything you want to on there. But yeah.
Well, it's the F word. Holy F.
Yeah.
He said, that sounds like you've done that before. He said, wait a minute, Cowboy Eddie Long from Hank Jr.'s band? I stood up, I said, and at your service, sir. I shook his hand, and we were thick friends ever since.
Yeah.
Ever since. That was about 12 years ago.
Wow. So you've been playing with Jamey pretty much since then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was in August of 2005.
Nice.
And I had just sobered up. But I sobered up after that. That first year with Jamey, the 2005, 2006 tour, none of us were sober.
Yeah.
But anyway, his record deal fell apart, and he went kind of into his own rehab. And then in the meantime, in January 22nd, 2007, I saw a dead man in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I went to my room, and I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed, and I said, I don't care if it takes a week. You got to get rid of this alcohol demon.
Yeah.
And I felt it leave about 2 hours later. And 3 days later, just out of the blue, Jamey called me up and said, how you been? About 6 months. And I said, great, man, and I'm sober. He said, no, are you serious? He said, me too. He said, well, listen, I just wrote 3 songs. Can you come down and play on them? I was in Ohio at the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to. And, we got in there and kept recording. And well, let's try another. And in 4 hours, we cut that entire Lonesome Song album.
4 hours?
4 hours.
Wow, that is one of the greatest albums ever.
Yeah, it was supposed to have been 3 demos, just 3 demo songs. But we just went in there and, hung out and had some fun. Well, let's make some music. And then he named me as a producer on it. So, and what was funny is the day after I quit drinking, BMI Steel Guitars called me. I'd never known any of them guys. They said, we've been looking for you. We want you to play our steels. All my equipment was falling to pieces and everything. Yeah. So within 3 days, I had a new steel, and now was producing an album. And within 9 months, I was up for 5 Grammys, 5 CMAs, as producer of the year.
That's awesome.
And the most beautiful part is it took about a year, but I got full custody of my children. And I've been raising them 10 years now, too.
Wow. How old are they?
She's 16 going on 30, and he's 19 going on 10.
Nice.
No, they're incredibly brilliant children.
Yeah.
He's already starting steel guitar. He's wearing guitar out.
Oh,
and Megan is more into the girly stuff. She has no desire to be an entertainer. Maybe an actress,
Yeah.
But her main thing she wants to be is a writer.
Yeah.
So
whatever makes them happy, I guess.
I know. And it breaks my heart because she's got one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard.
Yeah,
she really
but she doesn't.
She doesn't want to do it. Nope.
Has
no desire.
Did your parents play?
Yeah, my dad was an incredible steel player he was a Jerry Byrd style player back in the 40s. and played with a man named Rex Griffin who wrote "Walking the Floor Over You."
Yeah, I know that name.
Letter.
Yeah.
And but he quit when he was about 20 and became a Pentecostal preacher and laid it aside. But he still plays to this day. But he transferred his music over to piano. He was a great piano player, but I didn't know he played until I'd been practicing for about 3 months. Then he finally took all he could have. He said, "All right, move over." And I said, "Yeah, like you're going to play this thing?" And he sat down and freaked me out.
So you had no idea.
No, I said, "You never told me you played steel." He said, "Well, you never asked." What a humble man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Were you? Another question back to Hank stuff. When I used to rent from the video store back when people used to rent videotapes, years ago. There was a concert that it was Hank, Whelan, I can't remember the other people that were on it, but it was on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
It was in like 82 or 83 or something.
It was 84.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah,
somewhere in there. I watched that over and over and over again. Were you on that?
I was on that. Yeah.
Man, that just looked
Dickie
like fun.
Betts was on it, and me and Dickie Betts, and Animal, the guitar player.
Yeah.
And,
man, that sounds like a party.
Oh, well, we went. Our road manager, he was from Boston. God rest his soul, but he wasn't the greatest road manager in the world. He was a great person, but we're supposed to go over there and set up, And we asked him. We said, "What time you want us there?" He said, "I think it's 4:00." So it's like 8 in the morning. So Dickie's road manager was a PGA golfer, and we love golf. So we said, "Well, we're going to go play golf. We'll show up about 2:30, 3 o'clock." Well, we went and played golf, and I got there, and everybody's looking at me like they're fixing to kill me. Hank's mad at me, and me and Dickie and Animal are sitting on the bus, and Hank walks in, and Dickie says, "Oh, you should have seen Cowboy on the golf course today. He was horrible." And he said, "Really? Well, he better get real good quick." And he walked back to the room and slammed the door. I didn't know they started rehearsal at 10 o'clock that morning.
Oh,
he wasn't mad at Dickie or Animal. He's mad at me.
Wow.
So, but anyway, before the show, I talked to him and told him the misunderstanding. So we got it all straight. But yeah, that was a touch and go show there. Man.
So Jamey hadn't been playing much the last few years, has he? Has he? I don't really know either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially these last 2 years, we've been really.
Oh, that's
really
great. That's awesome. I haven't kept up. It's weird it's like once you get into the business, you kind of don't keep up with. Once you get your own stuff going on, it's hard to keep up with what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. And therefore, up till about 2 years ago, he did slack way down. Yeah. Way down. And there was one period of 7 months from September till April, we were going to record all winter and just release stuff on iTunes, and everybody got production credit. Everybody just split the money and just stay off the road for a little while. Yeah. And, there was a loophole in Mercury's contract with it. We thought it was out, and we were going to form our own label. So we wound up, you just don't throw shows together overnight. So we wound up going 7 months without work. And it was pretty intense. It was pretty rough. But you know what? We survived it. Yeah. And the ones that stuck it out, we stayed in here. There's some of them up and left. They had their own ways to go. But after that, now we've been working pretty intensely. Allison Krauss joined our band last August. Yeah. And we did about, 4 or 5 months with her tour, and we recorded every
Really?
night. So there may be it's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we do have enough recordings that we could put out a Jamey Johnson, Allison Krauss live album.
Ooh, man, what a voice!
The Jamey doesn't really. He's very spontaneous, and he's very hard to. He's the most unpredictable man I've ever met. Which is good.
That's saying something.
Oh yeah, but I love working with him because he's always blowing you away every day. He's a genius. He really is. He was a Marine for 8 years, and just such control. But the latest rumor I've heard is that we're going to spend December recording a new album.
Cool. I met him one time, and it was on. This was like 7 or 8 years ago. It was on his tour bus that was parked like downtown somewhere, and I was with some friends that knew him or something. But I just kind of stood over the side and didn't say anything. I hadn't been in town but maybe a year at that point, and was a huge Jamey Johnson fan, and I was just kind of like drinking my whiskey and not talking to anybody. And at some point, I felt like I could get into the conversation, that whatever we were talking about. And Jamey was like sitting down, and I was standing up in the bus hallway, and I said something to him, and I had my hands full, so I kind of like nudged him to say, "Hey, what you need to do?" Blah blah blah. You know, just in conversation. Right. And he just looked up at me and said, "You kick everybody you talk to?" I went, okay. I'll just not say anything else the rest of the time.
How long ago was that?
It was probably 7.5, 8 years ago.
Yeah. We were still having. That was right at the tail. He's been sober for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really straightened it up.
Yeah, he was.
But that may have been at the tail end of the.
I don't think he was. I don't know. I was certainly probably drunk. but I think he was just smoking. I think was all he was doing.
Maybe so. Yeah.
And whatever. I don't hold a grudge to it. That's just my funny Jamey Johnson story.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's a great guy.
He really is. He's a Marine. You know?
Yeah. They say you're always a Marine, I guess.
Oh yeah. You better believe it. I've seen him. He took like I don't know how many years of Marine martial arts. That's like the goriest there is.
Wow.
You don't touch him.
You ever seen him? Seen him cut loose on anybody?
Yeah. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he knows so many ways to kill you. You know, in 1 second.
Yeah.
But the goriest of all, he told me, he said, well, they taught us was one method called the grip and tear. And what you do, you grab their skin, you squeeze it high as you can, you twist your wrist, and then you pull. And you do it back to back as fast as you can. Before you know it, you've pulled all their hide off.
Wow. Yikes.
Now, how you going to fight somebody?
Yeah. Man. So you playing with anybody else? You do anything else other than gigs with Jamey?
This Kendall Marvin I'm playing. Kendall actually was co-writer of that Lonesome song. Which is the title cut of our first album. And I did his album, and we're promoting that. And I do all kinds of stuff around town.
Yeah.
There's another group I play with called the Kentucky Linemen, which is
I've seen those guys before.
Yeah, they're unbelievable.
Years ago. Yeah, they're great.
Really
brothers? Are they? Is it two or three brothers?
Three brothers.
Yeah.
Their harmonies
is crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we've been working so hard this year. I've recorded their album with them, and they're trying to find steel players, which, as you know, we're a dying breed.
There's not a lot,
left. There really is. It's hard to find them. And in fact, this winter, what I intend to do is go ahead and start teaching.
Yeah. People listening, if you want to move to Nashville and you want to be a musician, learn the steel guitar. You'll probably come and get a lot of work.
Come help take some of this load off of me. But I've already talked to a broadcast company and everything, and I figured out a way where I can teach.
Yeah,
the masses.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, with the internet, you can do so much. You can just make a whole website. You know,
that's exactly right. And there's another company out of Atlanta. It's they're tied in with TBN. They said they would even give me my own channel. It's some people I've known since the president of the company. His dad was one of the creators of TBN, and. I even went down there and did Your World with Creflo Dollar for them and gave my testimony how the Lord delivered me from drinking. And so, a matter of fact, I'm going down there tomorrow. This same guy has put a band together and wants me to kind of whip it into shape with him. And so that's where I'm headed tomorrow.
Awesome. So tell me about this show that you're doing tonight. We're sitting backstage at the Exit Inn here in Nashville. Tell me about the show.
It's Kendall Marvin's show, the ones I was just talking about, whose album I did, the writer of that Lonesome song.
Yeah.
And he's incredible. He really is. It's another act following right behind us because, in my opinion, we've broken through the wall.
Yeah.
Because they've got every president of every label begging for the rights to Jamey's new album. And he's letting them in the office.
Yeah.
And then by the time they leave, they're running.
Listen to what they have to say. And then,
I believe you took 95% of my money on In Color. That's usually the way the conversation starts out. And it gets nastier after that. So what we're fixing to do, I believe, is we're fixing to bust that barrier.
Yeah.
And then all the other acts can come. Real country music's coming back.
Yeah.
Which means demand for
There's so much in the last like few years, so much good quality stuff is getting popular again.
Yeah. And that's the trend now, because I'm getting calls for sessions left and right. And it's on top of doing this and touring and being a single parent of 2 teenagers.
Yeah.
I've got to have some help. And there's not.
I've been trying to sit down with you for about 4 or 5, 6 months now.
I know it. You can't pin me down. Every time I get a chance, something else comes up.
Yeah.
Which I'm not complaining about.
Oh, it's good to be busy.
Jesus said, "For much is given, much is required, and for more is given, even more is required." And he knew what he's talking about.
I saw a quote I liked the other day. I went and toured Monticello up in Charlottesville, Virginia, Thomas Jefferson's home. And I think my favorite quote I saw that week was he said, "It's amazing what can be done when you're always doing." I thought that was good. Yeah,
that's deep.
When you're always doing something.
You're right.
One more thing, I always try to do this at the end of the conversations. If you could go back to yourself at 18, 19 years old and give yourself a piece of advice, what would you tell yourself?
Stay away from alcohol.
Yeah.
Because it's the most deceiving drug out there. Sure, the other drugs will take you down quicker, but alcohol will, if you develop alcoholism, it will destroy your life.
Yeah.
Because Satan was a musician. He knows where to hit you.
Yeah.
And alcohol sneaks into you and becomes such a part of your life. It got to where I couldn't play without it.
Yeah.
And even if you're going to drink, I'm not saying stay away because not only 1 in 6 people that drink become alcoholics.
Yeah.
But if you think you have a drinking problem, drop it because you're headed for nothing but hell.
Yeah.
You really
it's
are.
crazy how people don't put alcohol in the same category as other drugs,
right?
When it's absolutely a drug.
Yeah, and then you walk right out that front door and get it legal.
Yeah,
you can get it there. It's socially acceptable,
and that's why because it's
it's misleading. I mean, it's the most misleading drug there is. I think it's people. You tell people you don't drink, they look at you weird. Like if you told them I do meth, they'd look at you weird. If you tell them I don't drink alcohol, the same look.
Yeah,
you don't what?
Yeah, I've gone through, I've never had an issue with it, but I've gone through phases to where I'm like, okay, I'm drinking too much. I'm going to take some time off, and then I'll not drink for a year or something like that. But I'm like those times where I'm just not going to drink for a while. It's like that. I'm go somewhere and somebody says, "Hey, what are you drinking? Water?" Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel like drinking.
Well, you're very blessed because, like I said, it's not everybody that's an alcoholic. If you can control it. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes, says, don't try to be too good. Enjoy yourself some of the finer things. Drink you some wine.
Yeah.
Just don't let it control you.
Yeah.
And so that's my best advice is just watch the way you live that lifestyle because I'm telling you, when you get out there with the real demons everywhere, they will eat you alive if you let them in. So just, you got angels right there watching you. Use them.
Yeah. Well, Cowboy, thanks for sitting down, man. I appreciate you talking with me.
The honor is mine, brother. I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this.
Yeah, man. While Cowboy plays some steel guitar in the background here, thank you all, as always, for listening. Check out don'tstifleme.com/034 for info and links, and I'll put up a few live videos of Cowboy playing the steel guitar with different people. I'll try to find some old ones of Hank Jr. I don't know. I haven't looked at them yet. Anyway, once again, check out patreon.com/DSM podcast if you'd like to get some exclusive behind-the-scenes access and pictures and stuff to what goes on over here behind the microphones. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast also as well to Tambien. The podcast social medias are all at DSM Podcast, and mine are all at Jacob Stiefel. That's JACOBSTIEFEL. Thank you again for joining in the fun here, ladies and gentlemen. I love you all. Have a beautiful rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon.